Yeah, we being live stream. No, you can start now.
Thank you, Rishabh. So, very warm welcome and good evening to everyone. I am Vatsala Khare, the lead of the mentorship program at the Startup Innovation and the Incubation Center, and I'll be your anchor for today's session. Before we get started, I'd quickly like to highlight an exciting opportunity for startups and entrepreneurs in the field of agri-tech and sustainability. We are currently accepting applications for the third cohort of the Social Innovation Lab by City, where you could receive funding of up to 12 lakhs for early stage startups and 20 lakhs for growth stage ventures. Today is the last day to apply for this scheme, so hurry up. More details will be available in the chat box and on our incubator website, so don't miss out on this incredible chance to scale your business. Now, moving on to the heart of today's webinar, we are incredibly fortunate to have with us a true expert, Mr. Vishwanath. He is a storyteller, writer, and an educator with a strong focus on sustainable water management and sanitation. Together with his wife, architect Mrs. Chitra Vishwanath, he co founded Biomi Environmental Solutions, a firm specializing in ecological architecture, and Biomi Trust, a nonprofit dedicated to water conservation and management and sustainable sanitation. Mr. Vishwanath has made a significant impact by working with diverse groups of students, communities, uh, farmers, plumbers, and construction workers to implement practical, locally adapted solutions for water conservation. His work includes promoting rainwater harvesting, designing sustainable sanitation systems, and educating communities on water management, thereby improving access to clean water and sanitation in both rural and urban areas. His approach integrates hands on education and community participation, empowering both individuals to become stewards of their own resources. Through Biome Trust, Vishwanath Sir has helped transform numerous communities by implementing eco friendly solutions that are both effective and sustainable. Recognized for his innovative work, he has become a leading advocate for environmental sustainability, particularly in these two areas of water and sanitation. Today, he will be sharing his valuable insights on the topic of water circularity, a Bengaluru perspective. We are here in for an engaging and highly informative session, and I'm sure you will all walk away with a plenty of actionable takeaways. Please feel free to post your questions in the chat as we go along, and we'll address them at the end of the presentation. Without any further delay, I'm delighted to welcome Vishwanath sir to start the session. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you, Vatsala. Just making sure that the screen is
yes, sir.
Yeah. So in the next 25 minutes, maximum 25 minutes, 20 to 25 minutes, I hope to share some insights as to how urban India, faced with water challenges, both of pipe water supply and groundwater running out, as well as urban flooding, what could possibly be the directions that cities will take to make sure that we are water sustainable, water equitable, and water just, in the sense everybody, every citizen in our city will have access to good clean water, good clean sanitation systems, and will not be subjected to flooding. So these are just directional steps. We haven't reached there. And so I'm using Bangalore, the city where I work with both the government as well as communities and individuals, to talk about these possible steps. And so therefore I call it towards a circular water economy, the case from Bangalore. And I'm from Biome Trust, www.biometrust.org. If you want to get in touch later, you're most welcome to do so on the website and on links. Most cities in India have what are called 7 taps. 7 taps are pipe water supply, usually coming from a distant source like a dam or a reservoir. The second tap is rainwater, which falls on our city, rainwater. Third tap is surface water, lakes, ponds, streams, and rivers, which are there in our cities. The fourth is soil moisture, which supports plants and trees and the ecosystem in cities. The next one is groundwater, which can be in both shallow aquifer or deep aquifer. And in our mountain cities and towns, it could be in the form of springs or naulas. The next one is very interesting and is the future of water management. It's called treated used water. What we used to call sewage or wastewater is now increasingly referred to as used water, and treated used water will become a major source, as I will show to you, for both environmental needs, agricultural needs, as well as urban and industrial needs. And some of the coastal cities will all actually tap into desalination, like Chennai is already doing, to get water from the sea. This will be a bit expensive and a bit energy consuming right now, but perhaps in the future it will get cheaper as things become much more technically relevant. And the final tab that one has to talk about is something called demand management and leak reduction. And demand management includes metering and pricing of water, and leak reduction, which could be both physical leaks as well as financial leaks in the system. So these are the ways that our cities will look to manage water in the future as things go along, right? Now, for our city itself, there's a huge footprint for pipe water. The water comes from the river Kaveri. It's about 95 kilometers away and 300 meters below the city. So it takes about 3.45 units of power to get 1 kiloliter or 1,000 liters of water to the city. The embodied energy is huge, the carbon emission is huge, and the cost of the water is very huge because it takes about 95 rupees to get 1,000 liters of water to our homes in the city, then collect it and treat it and release it into the environment, making it one of Asia's costliest waters, along with many other cities. But almost all cities are now moving farther and farther away from themselves to tap into freshwater sources, which have huge quantity and quality flowing in them. This is given. What's not understood much, but which is now the focus of much research and action and studies, is the large dependency of cities on groundwater. It's estimated that about 50% of the water requirement of our urban areas actually comes from the groundwater. So in my city itself, there could be about 5 lakh bore wells pumping about 600 million liters of water per day, though other estimates suggest that the number is even higher. You can imagine 5 lakh bore wells, almost unmonitored, and 600 million to 800 million liters of water per day being pumped out. And bore wells have gone to a depth of 1,800 feet and cost 9 lakh rupees for each bore well, right? So these are extremely expensive mechanisms, and groundwater is running out in many parts of our city too. Paradoxically, whenever there's a cloudburst or a rainfall event because of climate change and global warming, as well as the urban heat island effect, we have huge intensities of rainfall coming. There's waterlogging and flooding whenever rainfall occurs, though this occurs in parts of the city. So parts of the city may be struggling for water and parts of the city may be flooded. This is something which is getting more and more common across urban India. So therefore, one of the responses to urban waterlogging as well as for the groundwater depletion is rainwater harvesting. And what is rainwater harvesting? Is collection and storage or recharge of rain that falls on the rooftops of buildings or on paved, unpaved areas, parks, and open spaces, right? So here, the bylaw of the ecosystem for rainwater harvesting, which has been created, is that every plot, every house which gets permission now to be built, has to devise a system to store 60 liters per square meter of roof area and 30 liters per square meter of paved area. It could be storage or recharge. So this is the kind of rainwater harvesting that is mandatory, and the minimum depth of the recharge well is 3 meters. Why I talk about this for young entrepreneurs and startups is that once a bylaw and policy is in place, it triggers the market. So, for example, in the market in Bangalore, there are more than 200,000 rainwater harvesting systems installed, which means there are 200,000 or even 300,000 rainwater filters brought. And so the policy and bylaw has created a market for rainwater filters, and there are more than 40 different kinds of filter manufacturers who come into the market. So startups need policy frameworks which back them up from building bylaws and policy levels too, and rainwater harvesting is seen as a solution for the city's water problems, but also as an opportunity for startups and for new people who are venturing into the market to come out with new interesting products which will make rainwater harvesting simpler, cheaper, and easier for everybody to install. For example, rain barrels. These are now do-it-yourself rainwater tanks, which are then put in place to collect rooftop rainwater, as you can see in this. Can we devise cheaper systems? Can we devise cheaper storage systems? Because storage is the costliest component of rainwater. Or if it's recharge, can we devise simpler recharge systems where the rainwater is filtered and pushed into the aquifer, either the shallow or the deeper aquifers? So solutions for societal solutions can and will create and depend on the market, because after all, it's Samaj, Sarkar, and Bazaar, right? So it's society, the government, and the bazaar or the market as startup entrepreneurship, which will become a triad of the solution space that we will seek for our water challenges. Let's look at the next element which is now happening, and this is called shallow aquifer management. As opposed to deep aquifers, shallow aquifers, you can roughly say these are dug wells or open wells or step wells which tap into the shallow aquifers. Bore wells tap into the deep aquifers at a broad level, right? Now, shallow aquifer management has seen increasing interest in India, and the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, through its program called Amrut, has already invested in 10 pilot projects in 10 cities of India. And based on those 10 pilot projects, it's now scaled it up to 75 cities. What does that mean? Cities will now have to map and understand their urban aquifers, draw up a management plan to recharge these aquifers more, but also to manage demand so that there's a balance between recharge and draw so that groundwater tables are sustainable. Again, a policy framework created, investments created in particular form of water management, which will trigger innovations, hopefully, and which will help. Let's say, for example, monitor bore wells through instrumentation, right? Or monitor quality of water which is coming from our aquifers, or monitor recharge structure, how much water are we putting in, or monitor lakes for the potential that they have for recharge. So many potential opportunities will be created in understanding and dealing with shallow aquifers. So one of the things that we've done in Bangalore is looked at old dug wells which have been filled with silt and muck and cleaned it up, disinfected it, put water meters, and supplied to the community, essentially for non-potable use, but where the well water quality is good, to provide it also for potable use. Now, this supplements the community's requirement of water locally. Instead of the water coming from the Kaveri 95 kilometers away, now it will come from below your feet, which means, as I will show you, that there's a 1/20th reduction in price, a 1/20th reduction in energy consumption, and a 1/20th reduction in carbon emissions. So the more local we go, the cheaper the water becomes, and the less climate impact it has on the water supply, overall water supply system. So therefore, localization, shallow aquifer management is becoming critical. Like in this example also, where traditional well digging community people go and clean up these wells and then remove all the muck and dispose it off safely and make sure that the water is, the well is safe with a grill, and then it's put to productive use. So water security for common non-potable use, as you can see on the left, all the muck has been removed and now the well has come back to life with the community accessing the water at very cheap rates, right? And whenever they want it. So new rejuvenated open wells have helped meet water demand during crisis in Bangalore, right? So solutions are to look at local sources and rejuvenate them to tackle crises of the future. So lakes are also getting rejuvenated. We lost a lot of lakes, or many of the lakes are already contaminated with sewage, but there is a movement on to clean up these lakes, desilt them, and to make sure that only treated wastewater comes into it. It's a long process, but where it's happened, like for example, in this Unsumarnalli lake, the benefits of the lake is that it recharges the wells. It recharges the shallow aquifers, and these wells come back to life, as you can see here. And this revived dug well, for example, provides 1 lakh liters per day to the town municipal council for its use. In this particular case, there was a very interesting observation made by the community. The lady in the picture insisted that no pump should be put in the well, because she said that if you put a pump, you will overdraw the water and give it to these large apartments. Whereas if you go and simply draw the water with the pitcher that you see in the picture, then we will only take 4 buckets a day or 4 pitchers a day, and the well will remain full of water whenever we need it the most. And so about 75 families draw water from this well, but it's made sure that the well continues to sustain them even during periods of crisis of 180 days of no rainfall. So these interesting factors also come in. Now let's get to treated wastewater or treated used water. What's happening in the city of Bangalore is that wastewater treatment plants, as you can see from the picture, are now getting distributed all across the city, right? So there will be eventually about 60 wastewater treatment plants run by the BWSSB, the Bangalore Water Supply and Sewerage Board. And treated wastewater now has to meet stringent norms of the National Green Tribunal, which has set the standards. As you can see on the right, those who are in the know will know that a biological oxygen demand of less than 10, COD less than 50, total suspended solids 10 or less, total nitrogen 10, and total phosphate less than 1 means that treated wastewater now is of a very high quality, which can be used to fill lakes and put to good particular use. So this is the direction where all wastewater treatment plants across India are going. And once this treated wastewater reaches these standards, it will be available for potential very good use. And I'll show you the history of what's happening and we'll go through it very quickly. Starting in 1970, the first sewage treatment plant was set up. It was an activated sludge process. But as things move along, you'll see that quickly the new technology is SBR. As you see in the middle column, it's sequential batch reactors. And as you'll see on the right, what's also happening is the size of the STPs are becoming smaller and smaller. So we are decentralizing in a particular fashion and moving to a technology which is capable of giving us higher quality water. And these technologies, as they are built, will also capture energy, will also capture nutrients in the form of treated sludge, which can be then reused. So the STP now becomes a water generator, a sludge generator, and an energy generator, for which we will need very interesting technologies to come up in the future, which are India relevant, dealing with India's wastewater, and be able to do this at a cheap price. Get good quality sludge without any heavy metals, get energy from the biogas that can be produced, that will be produced in the treatment process of wastewater, right? And so there are further proposed wastewater treatment plants. I won't go into it, but these are all small scale, as you'll see, 10, 15, 30, 35 million liters per day. And other companies are setting up wastewater treatment plants under CSR initiatives, or thermal power plants are funding tertiary treatment plants of a high order by putting in monies of their own. So finance will also start to flow in from different sources, not just the government, also through private funding and through CSR fundings, which will mean that technology adoption will become faster as things go along, because now this is not seen as a cost center, but as a revenue center, a wastewater treatment plant, right? So let me also just point out the last line here. There will be, in the city alone, 60 wastewater treatment plants capable of treating 1,861.5 million liters per day. So what does the city do with the treated wastewater? It has already started putting in place systems of pumping this treated wastewater to fill the lakes of the neighboring districts of Kolar, Chikballapur, and Anekal, which are drought-prone districts and which are climate change-affected districts. These districts have 5,000 lakes and tanks. The current proposal is to fill many of these larger tanks with the treated wastewater from Bangalore so that the lakes are always full throughout the year. Eventually, 1,020 million liters per day is going to fill more than 900 tanks. The number is slightly less now, what I'm saying here. But eventually, more than 900 lakes all across more than 100 kilometers from the city of Bangalore will be filled up. This gives you an example of how far these tanks and lakes are. In the left is from a set of wastewater treatment plants, the district of Kolar, where 137 tanks are to be filled. The right is Chikballapur, where 65 tanks are to be filled. This is a combination of that. You'll turn vast areas of the landscape blue, right, with the wastewater from Bangalore city itself. And this is Anekal, which is a small taluk, 67 tanks here. Overall, this is how the transferred wastewater will go. On the left, you'll see a small narrow channel. That's where, from a pipe, treated wastewater from 3 major wastewater treatment plants in Bangalore are reaching Lakshmi Sagara Lake. Lakshmi Sagara Lake is about 42 kilometers from the city. So treated wastewater comes in through the channel, fills the lake, and on the right, you'll see that the lake overflows, and through natural flows, it goes to the next consequent gravity-fed lake. Like this, through a combination of gravity feed as well as pumping stations and rising mains, you're going to fill 137 tanks already, which have been filled in Kolar district. And this is how the landscape looks like now. The tanks are all full. They're slightly nutrient rich, so we'll have to work on ensuring that it does not eutrophy, but then this is really good water for agriculture purpose, right? So these are the tanks of Kolar, 137 of them, which are being filled. And the scenario before and after has been remarkably transformative, because these are, as I said, drought-prone districts. 7 out of 10 years are low rainfall years. And as you see on the top, the tank is bone dry, now it is full. And it's not only full during particular parts of the year, but it's full throughout the year, right? So this is the transformative nature of the project that is going on. Another scenario of another tank, which is Soluru Dodkere, and you'd see this is how the tank looks like. Dry before and full now. What does this mean in terms of benefits? Well, for example, in all these tanks, fisheries can be practiced by the local communities. Now, fish not only give you proteins and an income from the lake, but also indicate the quality of the water in this tank. So they're bioindicators, and they're also protein supplements and income generators and livelihood providers for the tanks. Then there is aquifer recharge. It is estimated that about 64,000 farmers will benefit from this overall recharge, and about 1 million acres of land will come under cultivation. What does that mean? It means water security and livelihood security for farmers, and in turn, food security for the city. Because whatever the farmers grow, as you can see, the cucumbers that are being grown in the middle or the maize that is being grown on the top right, this food then will come back to the city. So the city is acting as a water and fertilizer generator. The farmers are getting water security, and the city in turn is getting food security. These are the new imaginations that will come in, which will tie water and agriculture together, right? But also consumption in the city. So urban areas will no longer be seen as consumers of natural resources, but actually generators which are going to help farmers by providing them water and nutrients, but also providing them a market to consume the food crops that they grow. So this is what you see as the transformative component of water and agriculture. Now, one of the things as engineers and people concerned is we're keeping tab of this water quality for what is called emerging contaminants also. Pathogens which are likely to come in the future, antibiotic-resistant bacteria, pharmaceutical residues, all these need sensors and needs different surveillance systems which are low cost, which will help track the water quality, which is what we need. So, for example, scientists are testing for antibiotics and antimicrobial resistant bacteria. Can we get low cost, cheap technologies by which we can do it faster and therefore help improve the treatment process and help improve the usage, the reusage of this water is something that we will have. So I'll not read out this whole long list of benefits that are likely to accrue, but suffice to say that livelihoods of farmers will be protected, distress migration will be stopped, food security for the city will be ensured, climate modification and ecological restoration are possibilities. Each one of these tanks can be seen as biodiversity spots, and if designed as wetlands and designed as forest areas, they can revive the local ecosystem and increase biodiversity of flora and fauna. All these are potentials that cities, by simply treating wastewater to required standards and then pumping it, like the minor irrigation department of the government of Karnataka is doing, is able to achieve. The last example that I'll tell you is also how towns can become water sufficient thanks to this treated wastewater. This is Devanhalli town in Bangalore, where the international airport is located, population of roughly 45,000, completely dependent on those red dots, which are bore wells, 110 of them, of which 38 don't function. All of them have gone very deep, up to 1,200 feet deep, and they are highly saline water. So what does the town do? Because there's no river nearby. So what the town does is identify its nearest lake, which you can see on the left, which is the orange is the influence zone of the lake, and the blue is the lines that channels which bring the water to the lake. And it desilts the lake. It cleans up the lake, connects it to the catchment, right? So you see the desilting in process, and the catchment is being connected. Then this is what the lake looks like now. So this is a combination of rainwater, which is coming in from the catchment, and the treated wastewater, which I told you, which is coming from the city of Bangalore. But that is diluted once in another lake, and then it comes back here. So it's diluted, treated wastewater, and rainwater, which is coming into the lake. Now, next to the lake were dug wells. The one on the left, which was completely filled with garbage, it's now been cleaned up. And you can see on the right, this is how the dug well looks with filtered water from the lake itself, right? So it's called managed aquifer recharge, and you get good quality water here. And this is how the well is full. This well, in a 12-hour pumping cycle, can give up to 3 lakh liters of water, 12 hours. And in the next 12 hours, it will recuperate and come back to the same level. Now, what you do is you set up a water treatment plant based on the quality of water in the open well. So you put a 130 micron filter, an activated carbon filter, UV sterilization, and chlorination to make sure that the water quality meets drinking water standards of India, BIS 10500. So once these kind of systems are all put together by a young startup called Boson, which you can see in the center, right? Now, these are flexible water treatment plants depending on the water quality, where there'll be many startups which will have to come in and make these designs more robust, and also put in place a sensor-based system which will give data real time, so as to be able to monitor and manage these projects well. Yeah. And so we need to check the treated water quality constantly, and it meets BIS 10500 requirements, right? Including coliforms and fecal coliform, and E. coli and fecal coliforms. Now, as I have pointed out before, the advantage here is this. Again, just take a look at the green figure. Cost per kiloliter from the open well for 1,000 liters is 1 rupee 54 paisa. And for a filter bore well, which is a shallow aquifer filter bore well, it's 1 rupee 21 paisa. Whereas from the deep bore well, it's 9 rupee 30 paisa, right? So there's a cost advantage, there's an energy advantage, and I can't reinforce it enough. There's a carbon emission reduction. So what we're doing is adapting to climate change by reusing treated wastewater and mitigating climate change by emitting less carbon emissions per kiloliter of water. So this is the process that we think can start to solve the problem in about 1,200 lakes and wells around there. Many gram panchayats, many town municipal councils can become water sufficient and provide water for their citizens at very cheap rates if they revive their local systems, that's their lakes and aquifers, and if they use treated wastewater, right? And so there's a set of tests to be done that. So the overall ambition for cities in terms of water circularity is to capture the nutrient and energy component of wastewater, to regenerate agriculture, to regenerate the environment, and to provide some water for urban industrial use. This will be the brave new world that will occupy with water circularity. And hopefully in the next 10 to 15 years, we will never talk about any water shortage in India, but only talk about water positive cities and water positive landscapes, especially in the hinterland of large cities. So thank you for your time, and I'm happy to take questions on this.
Thank you so much, sir, for this engaging presentation. I do have 3 questions here, and I would also ask the participants, in case if anyone has question, please type them or raise your hand. We will take you to the panelist and you can speak also. So the first question is, how important, okay. Bhuvan has raised his hand, so I'll take him. I'm allowing you to talk, Bhuvan. Yes, you can please talk.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Sir, actually, I am already working in, we have a startup with IIT Kanpur in water management.
Wonderful.
We do smart monitoring as well as controlling, remote controlling for various urban infrastructures. So, I just want a suggestion from you as the water planning of every urban city or every urban area is dependent upon the geography and the topography of that area. So, just looking at the scenario that you all that was presented by you, uh, in order to decide a future product lines for us, what should be the best practice that we should focus on a single product, like making just one sensor or integrating the whole system in one place? Because what we are getting is when we go to the market, the major big players are already there in the market to supply products for the conventional treatment plants and all that. So for to fit into that treatment plant, we need the products of particular feature, particular technology. So there I want to ask the question. Yeah.
Yeah, I get your point, Bhuvan. It's a very interesting question because for a startup, how do you break into the market and what's the nature of the market? Unfortunately, so far, a large chunk of the market is government driven, right? So it's government investments which are driving the market. And as you pointed out, it's the big players who are also bidding for these big contracts. Many startups tie themselves up to these big players. If your technology is relevant, if it is good, then the big players, I won't take names, but let's say, for example, L&T, right? They're doing a large scale storage network. You can become a supplier to L&T with your technology and your sensors. It's a tough bargain that you'll have to deal with, but then that's the way to take it and approach it and push the market. The second thing is, should you specialize in one component or should you look at more broad brush? My thinking is, don't spread yourself too thin, but don't narrow yourself to only one product, right? Just be in between and you'll have to decide the sweet spot that you want to work in, right? That's a very difficult one, but I would think something like 3 or 4 product or 5 products is a good thing, good way to go.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
But it's not a simple answer, Bhuvan, and you know that the market is very tough. So
Yeah.
I'll be very honest with you, it's not as easy as it sounds, right? It takes a lot of time and patience to build the market.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes, yes.
And you'll need staying power.
Yes. Sir, another thing that I asked that majority of the planning and this urban, management, generally, I think varies based on the topography.
Yeah,
So as you presented for Bangalore, and right now we are focusing on the areas of, central and eastern UP.
yeah,
So there also the government is taking the initiative, but still the groundwater usage is a lot and
correct,
unmonitored.
right.
Mhm.
So
So yes.
it will in future have to change. It's right now groundwater even in Bangalore is completely unmonitored and mostly unregulated also. But it's, as you know, even in UP, it's depleting, and in UP, you're getting arsenic and fluoride in groundwater in many places.
Yes, yes.
So at some point of time, you'll need to monitor it. So therefore, sensors which are able to tell us more information on quantity and quality of groundwater will become important, right?
Okay.
So those will be the things that we'll do. And local waters will have first priority, right? Local lakes, local shallow aquifers, rainwater, treated wastewater, all these are locally available within the city. These will all come into the mix for supply for non-potable use first. And the river water will only be the secondary phase of water. Right now, UP thinks that it has enough and more water. या भी पानी की क्या कमी है, यहाँ पे क्यों सोचना है? But वो सोच आएगी और धीरे-धीरे आएगी.
Mhm. Okay. So just one last thing to ask is, can you suggest few names or the few platforms where the startups like us can directly go and get connected with the government, who
So
are actually.
one of the best things to do, and I'm sorry for breaking in, but I get your point, is this Amrut project of the government of India right now. It's being
Mhm.
handled by the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. Just make sure that you're able to get in touch with the Amrut division. There's an advisor there, and put your product and make a pitch there. Go meet them.
Okay, okay, okay.
The
Thank you.
other place to go for knowledge production and knowledge seeking is NIUA, National Institute for Urban Affairs, based out of Delhi. Just let them know about your product so that they are able to know where it can be placed at particular point of time.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhuvan. Thank you for your questions. Yes, sir. So the questions in chat are: how important is collaboration between startups and NGOs like BioMe Trust in achieving large-scale impact in water conservation and sanitation?
So it's absolutely critical in my way, in my thinking, in terms of the cutting edge solutions that need to be offered to communities and local governments at a local level, right? Because for a long time, planning for water supply has been centralized. So you sit in a city, you develop plans for a city, and there's one consultant who does it and one institution which rolls out the projects. But now you're seeing incremental projects like the one that I showed you, which is a collaboration between the NGO, an entrepreneur. In this case, the water treatment system was by a company called Boson, which is a startup. And this startup youngsters have been able to quickly put together whatever is required for the treatment process, plus CSR funding, right? So the private companies are also pitching in. And the local government is supporting it by saying, hey, please try it out in our area. So the ideal combination is NGO, startup, private company, and local government. But for this, we need to incubate these projects very carefully and strategically, right? But this is the way ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Another question is: how can startups incorporate sustainable practices like rainwater harvesting and waste management into their operations if they don't operate in environmental sectors directly?
So you don't have to be in the environmental sector to do rainwater harvesting or to manage water, because what you'll find out is you'll pay through your nose for tanker water during times of crisis in many parts of India, right? And you'll get bad quality water. So it makes pure economic sense for you to be able to do rainwater harvesting, to recharge groundwater, to reuse treated wastewater, and to measure and monitor all of this, right? So most companies which are doing it are not in the environment sector at all. They're just water consumers.
Do you see potential for tech startups to revolutionize the water sector? If so, what kind of tech or models are you most excited about?
I'm a believer in evolution, not revolution. In the Indian context, everybody aspires for revolution. The transformative element will come with a hard grind, right? Slow incremental change. And therefore, what I see is that data generation at a localized level, and the data which empowers people, not big data, but small data which can be acted upon. Simple things. A borewell is drilled and water is drawn out. I have no clue now how much water I'm drawing out. I have no clue how much water is there in the ground that I can extract safely and sustainably. I have no clue on the quality of water. I don't know how it changes during month to month. In summer months, how does it behave? In the rainy season, I behave. Just a simple sensor which will give me these four information and therefore enable me to act. And remember, there are 30 million bore wells and open wells in India, right? So if we are able to do that for 1, 2, 3, and then bring change, then the revolution that you hope for may perhaps rise, but the evolution will certainly happen. I can understand the impatience of the youngsters to revolutionize. थोड़ा टेम्पर करो उसको पेशेंस के साथ, and then be engaged with the sector, and you'll get there.
On the same line, sir, I personally would want to know what inspired you and Chitraji to start this BioMe Environmental Solutions.
So we were young ones, and we were also impatient, and we wanted change, and we wanted to do a lot of things. We stuck to the path. We got lucky to be able to stick to the path that we adopted, and we are still together, and we are still addressing many of the ecological challenges and having fun with it, right? So stay the course is the lesson that I have for others.
And having worked in both these social and business sectors, what are the key lessons that you have learned and you would want to share with our young entrepreneurs?
So here's the thing: entrepreneurship is a different ball game, and social sector and NGO work is a different ball game. The DNAs are different, right? The worldview is different. The outlook is different. I am a social community person. Chitra is the business person. So we have split our work. She does the business end of the work, and every work is dealt with as business, right? Whereas I am the more soft-hearted guy. I work with communities, try to raise money and CSR funds and all that. For business people, I say put your business first. Make profit your mantra. Let that be the driving force. Then think of the societal benefits that will flow once you are established and financially sustainable, right? Don't let these two, the heart and the brain, mix with each other. As an entrepreneur, just be brain, 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 brain.
And sir, in your informal labor groups, when you work with them, what is the role that you think startups can play in creating awareness and providing sustainable livelihood options for these communities?
These communities come with incredible skills. We underestimate them as though we can train them. They train me. So the well diggers are all entrepreneurs. The kind of knowledge base they have, the only two things they lack is spoken English. So they're not taken seriously, and that they come from a poverty-stricken background. They can't make PowerPoint presentations, right, to audiences. So therefore, they're not taken seriously. My job is to make sure that community recognizes the kind of skills they bring and to create entrepreneurs out of them. So I think that I've created 500 entrepreneurs. Some of the well diggers have their children studying in America now, have 2, 3 cars and do business and go in their own vehicle to Hyderabad and dig 100 wells and come back, right? So this kind of entrepreneurship has been created. Never look down on people, engage with them, learn the knowledge that they bring to bear, and with your privilege that you have, the wider connections that you have, the network you have, the ability to understand meta things, try best to be facilitator to them so that they can take off. Never be jealous.
There is another question. We are building a sustainable food tech service. Is there any government scheme to support in water management channel?
So there's a lot of subsidies available, for example, for polyhouses, for drip irrigation systems, for various water efficiency measures, right? So I'm sure that you would know about it. But the best thing to do for you is to understand your own water demand and try to be self-sufficient with it yourself, right? So there's also a solar scheme for Kusum, as it is called, for pumping borewell water, but also supplying it to the grid as energy farms. So there are many, many projects which are available. Making farm ponds is available to you. Various subsidies are available to you, but you'll have to tap into different departments of the government to be able to access all of them.
I see no further questions. So, to end the session, I would want to know the future vision for the startups in this sector. Like looking ahead, what are your goals? What are your goals personally for your trust and the environmental solutions that you have? And what can you suggest our startup entrepreneurs?
So one of the things that I would suggest to all startup entrepreneurs is find a good mentor, or find a few good mentors, right? Mentors are not, those skin is not in the game. They're able to see the big picture and the meta picture and give you honest, brutal advice, but also connect you to the right networks, right? In this business, networking, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Remember that, yeah? It's a difficult thing to know, but it's not what you do, but who you do it with. Get the right mentors, listen to their advice, get networking, and spread the word and stay the course.
Yeah. Very important last words you've said. Mentoring is very important for all the startups. So,
Yeah, find the right mentors. Huh? Search around. Don't be shy to ask people for help, especially older people. Never fear that. Listen to them. They may have opinionated views. Just listen to them, but take what you think is relevant to you and get that advice going on a regular basis, right? Get that advice in an informal setup. Don't make it a formal setup, but listen to those kind of advices and take the wisest advice out of that and put it to use.
yeah, Bhuvan, you have a question. Please go ahead.
So just through your words, I came to I just recognized one question that I had. Sir, actually, as I told, we do urban water management for the infrastructures. So, like there is a more than 1,200 acres, 2,000 acre campus or a society is there, township is there, and they have a number of pump houses to draw water from the bore wells, and they manage it, the three or four pump houses individually. Now, what we do is what we actually do is we just centralize their whole pump house management through one system, through one place. And what we are now opting for is we are suggesting them that instead of going for that pump houses having pumps of 25 HPs, 35 HPs that are drawing a lot of electricity, the monitoring, management of energy, everything is there. Management of water, metering of water is there, controlling of water is there. But we are suggesting that instead of just going for the pumps that are already conventional bore wells that are there, go for the solar pumps at those pump houses. We have not yet come across the very economical model for this. Do you see any economical model in this part? An economically viable model
So
for
it
urban
depends on the
infrastructure?
yeah, because it depends on the volume of pumping, right? Solar pumps are not capable of generating huge volumes of water, and they have this lacuna that they don't work when the sun is not there, right? But there may be a intermediate approach where you just replace these existing pumps with energy efficient pumps. Pumps have evolved tremendously in the recent past, and I find that even making a shift to energy efficient pumps saves a lot of energy as you go towards solar. Go towards the solar with smaller capacity pumps. Look at energy efficient pumps, and you're already doing the great thing of creating a platform in arranging all the pumping infrastructure together in one place so that you understand how to manage it better.
Okay, okay. So means your suggestion is go for some hybrid model where the lower energy requirement could be met through solar, and others we have to go for the energy efficient pumping. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Don't look for the best. The good can be a very good model for you to take one step up the ladder, right?
Okay, okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome, Bhuvan.
Yeah.
One last question, sir, we'll be taking up. How to evoke a sense of ownership among the local farmers, villagers for long-term sustainability of solution. So this is from Dipanshu Bisht. They are an agri-tech startup based in Ladakh, working in Hindu Kush Himalayan region to mitigate water crisis by building automated ice reservoirs.
Oh, fantastic. So the thing, Dipanshu, that you ask is we need to build empathy and a relationship with the farmers, right? We need to be working with them as equal partners. We need to listen to what they're saying and actually become friends with them. The informal use of a mobile phone in which we talk to them as friends and then as customers are two different things. We need to integrate both. What I've learned is empathy, listening to them and addressing their pain points helps you to build a better relationship. You're not only looking at your own technology and what the farmer is doing with it, but also understanding what the farmer's entire economic cycle is all about and how she or he is constrained to take certain decisions which she or he takes for various reasons which we may not understand in the beginning. So listen to them, make friends with them, and then persuade them to understand why they are or not using the technology, right? It may be a choice that we may have to be difficult for us to swallow because they don't use something that we think is rocket science is a great thing that we have given to them. But just be patient and listen to them. Make friends with farmers, make friends with well diggers, make friends with fishers, make friends with the people in the field who are actually doing all the hard work, right? Just make friends with them.
I think, sir, the questions are over for now. If I have any more questions, then I'll share you them over WhatsApp or email. So thank you so much for your invaluable insights and your time. It has been a highly informative session, and I'm sure all of us are walking with plenty of actionable takeaways and a lot of zeal to work in this area also. So thank you so much to everyone for being here for this hour. And thank you so much, Vishwanath sir, for your time.
And Vatsala, I'm always available on WhatsApp and Gmail and others. Whenever people want to have an informal conversation, my handle is Zen Rainman. Please use that on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and be in touch. Happy to help you out, all of you who are listening, with whatever issues you have.
Yes, thank you so much. And Dipanshu, I am just texting my number on the chat box, and you can connect with us, okay? We will connect with you with sir also. And he has said, how can you search him? It's Zen Rain Man on LinkedIn.
Yeah, it's Zen Rainman on all social media platforms. I'm there everywhere, Blue Sky included.
So I've texted you my number. You can connect with me.
Great.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you everyone for being here. Wish you
Thank
a very
you.
good day to all of you.